Now, probably everyone out there has turned on the outdoor channel and watched hunters hunting out of a redneck blind, some type of blind on a food plot, right in the middle of a food plot. And it seems like, you know, they're sitting there, the bucks just come out, they shoot out the window, shoot one. And that's not very realistic in most states, most hunting locations. When you have low levels of hunting pressure, for example, Kansas has 25,000 bow hunters, Iowa I think has 65,000 bow hunters, compared to 300,000 or 400,000 for Michigan and Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, then you have those states that have low hunting pressure where, and then some of those shows, or those hunters are not hunting those blinds very often on those food plots, so they can go into a food plot that's been sitting there for a month and no hunting pressure, pop into a blind and maybe shoot a big buck. But folks, that's not realistic. So my goal, my channel is I want to try to help you. I want to really truly help you understand how to use these type of blinds, how to use the food plots. What I find in hunting out of a blind on a food plot is enjoyable. It is a lot of fun. I choose to primarily hunt food plots with a gun from a blind because, like these food plots right here, if I get in there with a bow and I'm close enough to shoot at them with a bow, I'm going to spook out the food plot, which would spook out this entire hollow up there. It would really ruin the property for a week or two at a time. So I wanted to discuss how to get away with hunting in a blind near a food plot. First off, food plot has to be hidden and the blind has to be hidden. You can't have one without the other. You can't have a really hidden blind but the food plot's right out in the open, exposed to hunting pressure and walking into the property. And likewise, you can't have a hidden food plot with a big old blind sitting right on the edge of it to spook deer every time you walk in and out. Deer do not get used to the blinds. The local deer get used to these blinds. The does and fawns, the small bucks that are around here during the summertime or around here consistently. A great property typically does not have mature bucks on it during the summertime. So mature bucks, as they're shifting into that fall shift, mid-October, early October, on a great property that has bucks shifting in late September, early October, those bucks are not coming to the property until middle of the hunting season. They just don't have time to get used to a blind, let alone trail cameras on a tree, that type of thing. So very important to hide both the blind and the food plot. Now, hiding food plots, critical. A hidden food plot is a food plot that is located so that deer on the food plot cannot hear you, see you, or smell you as you're walking in and out of your hunting land. If deer can hear you, see you, or smell you, then it's not a hidden food plot. So it has to be extremely hidden first. And then a hidden blind is such that I really want you to focus on, if your blind is hidden enough, it should be able to pass a 100-yard test, meaning that as long as you can't see it from 100 yards, then it's hidden enough. If it sticks out like a sore thumb 100 yards away, 200 yards away, then it's not hidden enough for deer. Now, we have a situation in this particular location where we've had a bike track that has been specifically built during our Wisconsin gun, rifle, and muzzleloader season, the 19 days of those seasons, 2 years in a row now. So we've had heavy equipment even as close to 20 yards, 30 yards away from this redneck blind right here. And basically it's, you know, and you can understand, I mean, it's right here. We're trying to hide this blind. We've had it hidden in the past with Egyptian wheat. And our gun seasons have been effectively ruined, you know, the last 2 years in this specific location. We've had some great success during gun season in other locations, but this particular setup, which we count on, it has been ruined. So we really have to make some changes. And in this case, it means we have a big food plot coming right here that's 10 yards away from the redneck. We normally have switchgrass now, and then we've had Egyptian wheat in the past hiding this blind. I'm going to make a switchgrass wall. I'm going to shorten that food plot. It'll be a smaller food plot so that we can effectively hide it, so that when bikers are going by in the mountain bike course, they're not really projecting too much over into the food plot. We also have established switchgrass lines along our food plot edges, and even the food plots up here. There's a food plot edge behind me up on the hill, and then another switchgrass line on that food plot. So we're hiding our food plots even more. I'm adding another switchgrass line. And then, of course, we're moving this blind completely. We're moving it towards the top up here. We're going to put it in the middle of a bank of switchgrass, and then we're going to have access from below the ridge so that when we get into that blind, we literally do not see the food plots until we look out the window. And that's another good test. If you can't see your food plot until you get in the blind and look out the window, then that probably means your blind is hidden extremely well. Number one focus of a food plot anywhere, doesn't matter if you're hunting out of a tree stand or blind, is to never spook deer off that food plot. If you're attracting a large number of deer to the area because you have a great food plot and then you spook those deer, you just educate an extremely high number and a high percentage of deer in the entire area, and that has a ripple effect extending 200 to 300 yards into your cover and sometimes more. And you can imagine if you do that in 2 or 3 places on your property quickly becomes nocturnal. Have to hide the food plot, have to hide the blind, has to pass that 100-yard test, has to pass that test. You have to be able to get into that blind without spooking deer behind it. We like to use switchgrass, brush, logs, hinge cuttings, whatever it might be. We have a redneck gilly right back up behind me that's against some switchgrass, and we find that blended in really well this year. Deer never even looked at it. And really enjoyable. You know, I'm a bow hunter, but I love bow hunting. In fact, half the sits that I take during rifle season and gun season are with a bow. But at the same time, when I have a property like this that's set up and we have unpressured food sources and we have a blind that we can sneak into, and we place these redneck blinds behind the switchgrass or the lay of the land, and we can get in and watch whitetail herds that are coming into food plots that are unpressured, and we can watch those food plots fill up with deer, especially as the rut progresses, gun season progresses, and then into the late seasons, because everywhere else they're pressured, then man, it's really enjoyable whether you're sitting with a bow or a gun, just watching deer. Some of my favorite hunts here have been out of this blind or blinds like this with the kids, getting into the late season, and even myself with a rifle or muzzleloader. So keep in mind, keeping your food plots and your blinds both hidden, and you can have some great setups going into this season hunting unpressured whitetails out of your favorite deer blind.